So after you have applied your table calculation, you might want to have some more control over how that table calculation is used. So instead of, for example, calculating percentage of total for each row here, maybe I want to say for all of California, I want all these values to add up to 100%. Maybe I want all the values in one column for one material. Maybe I want that to add up to 100%. So what I can do is I can use something called compute using. And this changes slightly for the type of quick table calculation you do, but table across does for each row, it adds up to 100%. Of course, this is when I'm using percentage of total quick table calculation. If I instead change it to table down, now for each column, it's going to add up to 100%. So if I scroll all the way down here and add up all the ones for ceramic, that would add up to 100%. I can use table as well, and now notice how these change to very small percentages. Now if I take all of these values for the entire table, it's not going to add up to 100%. And to understand how this works, you can look at a table like this, for example. So if you want to take a look at this a little bit more detail, you could pause the video and take a look at it. But real quick, so the first one here, table across, this is where each row adds up to 100%. In pane across, each row adds up for each pane. So notice here, these two adds up to 100%. These two adds up to 100%. So here's pane within each column. Table down is what we talked about before. The entire column adds up to 100%. And then, of course, in the entire table, each cell, like all these cells together, adds up to 100%. And there's a few other options, but those are the primary options to use. To be honest, I a lot of times don't bother trying to think of what does all these different things do. So when I do this, I'm not sitting there, okay, what does table down do? A lot of times I just try it out and go back to my data, the summarized data, and calculate the percentages myself to make sure it's doing what I'm thinking it's supposed to do. But a nice tool to use is something called the edit table calculation. If you click on edit table calculation, you get this window up, and here you can change the different types of table calculations, but you also get this calculation assistance. So when I have table now, notice how all these are numbered and they're uniquely numbered, which means all of these are going to add up to 100%. If I do table across, notice that these are the only ones and they keep repeating, they're not unique anymore. So it means these ones are going to add up to 100%. Table down, now I can see that all these together are going to be adding up to 100% in each column. So this is quite handy if I want to see how the calculation is going to be applied. We can also, and I could do this in the drop-down menu here when I do compute using, notice I can select specific dimensions that I use to aggregate my data based on. I can select those and do my table calculation based on those. Here, some people might be smarter than I am, but here I can kind of think about what it's going to do, but I have a harder time even. So I like using this show calculation assistance when I'm doing calculations based on different dimensions in my data. So for example here, if I'm clicking year of transaction date, notice now that it's going to sum up within each site dimension for each material dimension. It's going to sum up across all years and equal 100. So for ceramic for CA, I'm going to get 100%. For cobalt for CA, I'm going to get 100%. And then that's going to repeat for Florida. If I then add site code in here, now I'm going to get across all these, it's going to add up to 100%. So this is like table down. If I take out year, now I'm going to get for each year, for each product across the different sites, what it added up to 100%. If I add material description here, now, and I take out this one, for example, now it's going to give me for each site, for each year, it's going to add up across the different materials. If I then now add year, notice here what happens. Now that I'm getting for all of California, all these are going to add up to 100%. If I take out year and I add site code, now I'm going to get for 2012 across all are going to add up across all the different states. So I really like this show calculation assistant if I'm going to start using different dimensions, especially when I start combining many different dimensions to base my table calculations on. I really like this show calculation assistance.